A girl who was created as a government experiment turns into a monster, loses control, and destroys everything in her path. One of the girls from a lab where genetically modified children were being created escapes. Dr. Beck, the lead scientist, orders the execution of everyone involved, deeming the experiment a failure. However, he allows a few calm and obedient children to live. A search party is sent after the girl, but no one can catch her. Dr. Beck isn't too concerned, assuming that she'll die soon from the severe headaches, a side effect of the genetic mutations. Eventually, a family of farmers finds her and decides to take her in as their own daughter. 10 years later, Ja-yoon, now an 18-year-old girl, lives with her family, who is struggling. Her elderly mother suffers from Alzheimer's, and her father is facing financial difficulties. Ja-yoon has no memory of her past due to amnesia but tries her best to help her parents. She makes a deal with the son of a store owner to get free feed for their cows. Suffering from intense headaches, Ja-yoon realizes something is wrong with her health and seeks out a doctor who can help. Later, her friend Myung-hee tells her about a talent contest where the winner can earn $500,000. Hoping to make some money to help her family, Ja-yoon auditions and easily makes it through. That evening, she gets a call from an unknown number, but the caller stays silent. It turns out that Mr. Choi, who tried to execute her 10 years ago, has found her and is already watching the farm. The next morning, Ja-yoon and Myung-hee almost miss their train to Seoul, where the live talent show will be held. In their frantic rush to reach the capital, they skip breakfast and decide to grab something to eat on the train instead. During the ride, Myung-hee, sensing Ja-yoon's potential, suggests that she could become her manager to help her rise to fame and start a music career. Hearing this, a guy sitting nearby starts laughing. He finds the girl's behavior amusing and tells Ja-yoon to stop pretending. She's genuinely confused and has no idea what he's talking about or why he's acting like they know each other. He calls her by her old nickname, Witch, and reminds her that they used to go by numbers before she had a real name. Still baffled, Ja-yoon asks him to leave her alone. The guy suddenly swings at her, but Ja-yoon stays calm, only shedding a tear out of fear. Myung-hee, shocked by his behavior, starts making a scene and demands the police handle the bully. Assuming he made a mistake or that Ja-yoon genuinely doesn't remember him, the guy moves to the next train car. He bumps into another passenger but doesn't apologize. Instead, he openly provokes the man, who tries to hit him. The guy shows incredible strength and breaks the passenger's neck. Seeing other people nearby, he pretends that the man is his drunk relative who can't stand up. Once alone with the body, he throws it out of the train with ease, as if it were a rag doll. After arriving in Seoul, the friends quickly find a taxi and head to the studio. They barely make it in time for the live broadcast. Ja-yoon performs beautifully, captivating the audience with her singing. The viewers vote enthusiastically for her, and she advances to the quarterfinals. Mr. Choi and Dr. Beck are watching the broadcast closely to confirm if Ja-yoon is really the girl they've been searching for all these years. Dr. Beck is shocked that she survived and can't comprehend how it's possible. He orders Mr. Choi to correct this unfortunate mistake and eliminate Ja-yoon as soon as possible. Right after her performance, Ja-yoon is hit with another severe headache. Before the trip, she had visited a doctor and learned that she doesn't have much time left. The only way to save her is through a bone marrow transplant, but it requires her biological parents, whom she doesn't have. Seeing her friend's deteriorating condition, Myung-hee comforts her and helps wipe the blood from her face. After leaving the studio, the girls try to hail a taxi to get to the train station and head home. Several taxis pass them by before two black, tinted cars with suspicious-looking people stop in front of them. Mr. Chan, a man in one of the cars, insists that the girls ride with him and his men, claiming he wants to discuss Ja-yoon's recent performance. Myung-hee senses the danger and tries to protect her friend, realizing these people mean harm. The girls manage to escape by flagging down another taxi just in time. Back in their hometown, the friends wait for a bus at the stop, but it's running late. Myung-hee decides to call her father, who's patrolling the area nearby. As soon as she steps away to make the call, a black SUV pulls up next to Ja-yoon. Inside is the guy she encountered on the train earlier. He tells her the bus won't be arriving anytime soon because its tires were slashed and warns her to hurry home if she wants to see her adoptive parents alive. The guy speaks to her in several languages, but Ja-yoon understands everything and runs home as fast as she can, telling Myung-hee to call the police. Myung-hee realizes something strange is happening and urgently tells her father to get to Mr. Goo's farm as soon as possible. The strange guy and his friends arrive at the farm first but keep their distance, observing as if waiting for something. Officer Do arrives shortly after and asks the strangers to provide identification. A few minutes later, Ja-yoon returns home, relieved to see that her family is safe and unharmed. Officer Do and his daughter stay for a while, making sure everything is in order, before heading home. Before leaving, the officer informs Ja-yoon that the people in the SUV are U.S. citizens with no criminal record but advises her to be cautious and vigilant. One night, a genetics professor returns home and notices a light on in his greenhouse. This strikes him as odd since he has a secret lab there, secured by a code that only he knows. Rushing to the greenhouse, the professor discovers the bodies of his wife and daughter. A young nobleman and his team were sent there to eliminate the professor on Dr. Beck's orders. They were only supposed to kill the professor, but the group, made up of young people with special abilities, has a taste for blood and couldn't resist the opportunity. At the same time, one of the guys torments the security guard, using his powers to make the guard take his own life. After killing the professor, they burn down the greenhouse and flee the scene. The next morning, Dr. Beck learns that the mission was a success and celebrates another victory. She suggests that Mr. Choi take a forced vacation since she's closing the local branch and plans to move to the headquarters in Seoul. Drive. Beck hopes that by then, she'll have captured Ja-yoon and, instead of eliminating her, will reset her factory settings to turn her into a controllable weapon, similar to the young nobleman and his friends. Realizing that Dr. Beck has written him off, Choi meets with Dr. Sung and strikes a secret deal. His primary goal is to eliminate Ja-yoon and others like her, to start the experiments from scratch. That evening, Ja-yoon and Myung-hee are having dinner with Ja-yoon's parents when her mother's illness flares up again. Due to her advancing Alzheimer's, the woman doesn't recognize her own daughter, believing Ja-yoon is still a child longing to find her real parents. That night, Ja-yoon is once again tormented by severe headaches and can't sleep. When she notices her friend has gone to the bathroom and hasn't returned, Ja-yoon follows and walks into a trap set by mercenaries who have infiltrated her home. Several armed men, led by Chan, have come to verify if she is indeed the result of Dr. Beck's experiments. Chan is convinced that Ja-yoon is the girl who escaped the lab 10 years ago. To confirm his suspicions, he threatens to kill her friend and orders one of the mercenaries to pull the trigger while holding Ja-yoon at gunpoint. Realizing that they're about to be killed, Ja-yoon reveals her true nature as someone with unique abilities. With a few swift moves, she takes down all the mercenaries and then brutally beats Chan. Trying to prove she isn't who he thinks she is, Ja-yoon insists that she remembers nothing. Chan, convinced she's a monster, refuses to believe her, and for that, he gets a bullet. At that moment, the young nobleman who had come with his team appears in the house. Unlike the mercenaries, he doesn't threaten Ja-yoon's family. Instead, he tries to explain to her who she really is. The young man claims that Ja-yoon has unique abilities. She can sing, dance, and learn better than anyone else in the world. He tells her she's a one-of-a-kind person with an extraordinary brain, but Ja-yoon can't believe it's true. She doesn't remember anything from her childhood and has no idea when they might have met or why he thinks so highly of her. Rather than going into details, he suggests she come with him to a place where everything will be explained, assuring her that no one will harm her adoptive parents or her friend. Meanwhile, Choi learns that the mercenary team has been completely wiped out and assembles a new, formidable squad to find and destroy the witch. The young nobleman, however, continues to doubt Ja-yoon's amnesia, believing she carefully chose her adoptive parents before escaping from the scientific lab. Choi tries to call Dr. Beck for assistance, but she ignores him, having no further use for his services or input. Ja-yoon is taken to a secret lab and strapped to a chair in one of the isolated rooms. Watching her through a one-way mirror, Dr. Beck welcomes her to the lab. Ja-yoon still doesn't understand what's happening or why she's there. She insists she doesn't want any trouble and begs to be released, but Dr. Beck explains that Ja-yoon is an expensive project they can't afford to lose again. Dr. Beck assumes that Ja-yoon truly lost her memory and forgot about the experiments. Otherwise, she wouldn't have gone on television to participate in a singing contest. Deciding to help her remember, Dr. Beck instructs her assistant to administer the first injection. Ja-yoon recalls that 10 years ago, she was part of an experiment aimed at creating criminal children with unique abilities. Their brains were subjected to genetic mutations, but one day they were all marked for elimination. Desperate to avoid becoming a victim of a failed experiment, she managed to escape. Dr. Beck admits that she was ordered to execute everyone involved in the experiment. Initially, the goal was to create physically strong, resilient, and merciless criminals that could be programmed and used for high-level objectives. At some point, the program spiraled out of control as the children became excessively violent. Most were eliminated, but Ja-yoon managed to escape. After so many years, everyone thought her brain had already failed, but she unexpectedly appeared on live TV, showcasing her superhuman abilities and exposing herself completely. Dr. Beck explains that these extraordinary abilities come with a severe downside. The human brain cannot handle such intense stress and starts to deteriorate. The severe pain Ja-yoon experiences is a result of the experiments and will only worsen until she eventually dies in excruciating agony. However, she acknowledges that she has a treatment that could extend Ja-yoon's life. One injection provides immense power and limitless abilities, but only for a month, after which new injections will be urgently needed. To demonstrate the benefits of her cooperation, Dr. Beck asks for a second injection to be be administered to Ja-yoon. Once this is done, Ja-yoon feels significantly better, sensing the incredible power surging and hidden deep within her. Watching from the sidelines, the young nobleman realizes that Ja-yoon had been pretending to gain access to the injection. She had used them and feigned ignorance to end up in this situation. No longer in pain, Ja-yoon reveals the truth. She had been pretending to have amnesia all along. She always knew who she was but had escaped to survive. Learning that her brain would fail without proper treatment, she spent 10 years searching for a cure. Realizing that only Dr. Beck's medications could help her, she deliberately participated in the competition and exposed herself to draw their attention. It wasn't Ja-yoon who was trapped in the cage. Everyone else in the lab had fallen into her trap. Using her abilities, Ja-yoon swiftly destroys the electronics and breaks the locks holding her captive. She attacks Dr. Beck's assistant from behind, mercilessly killing him, then shoots at the one-way glass. The bulletproof surface protects Dr. Beck, who tries to defend herself by releasing poison gas into the adjacent room. When the gas clears, it becomes apparent that Ja-yoon has escaped through the ceiling. She moves into the next room, takes out several guards, and finally faces Dr. Beck directly. Ja-yoon hasn't forgotten anything. The entire situation was a carefully orchestrated plan. Dr. Beck is thrilled, believing Ja-yoon has returned to join her team, but she's gravely mistaken. Ja-yoon knows she might soon lose her own life but is determined to see everyone involved in the cruel experiment go to their graves before her. Before leaving the lab, Ja-yoon demands the remaining vials of the medication and shoots Dr. Beck in the leg. A group of young mutants heads toward them, but Mr. Choi and his mercenaries intervene. They attempt to execute the unique soldiers with superhuman strength, but it's no easy task. To fully neutralize them, they would need to shoot them in the head, but the nobleman and his friends are too agile. Using his strength, one of the mutants hurls a door at the mercenaries, taking out most of their pursuers. While the nobleman continues to approach Ja-yoon and Dr. Beck, his 3 companions stay behind to fight Choi and his men. In the end, the mercenaries manage to eliminate 2 of the special soldiers, but the girl with the knives handles the rest, escaping unharmed. The young nobleman finds Ja-yoon and attacks her, but she is too strong and doesn't feel his blows. As the unique product of the experiment, she is unmatched in both strength and ability. Demonstrating this clearly, Ja-yoon attempts to strangle the nobleman, predicting each of his moves. The nobleman refuses to give up and does everything he can to defeat her, but he remains too weak compared to the one they call the witch. Ja-yoon is faster, stronger, and more agile, making it extremely difficult for him. He dodges bullets and blows, but eventually, he finds himself in front of Ja-yoon, who is ready to pull the trigger one last time. At that moment, Mr. Choi intervenes in their confrontation and wounds Ja-yoon. He promises to execute both of them, and Dr. Beck reminds him to aim for the head. Hearing this, the surviving girl with the knife threatens Dr. Beck, but Choi shoots her as well, having received orders from Dr. Sung to eliminate everyone in the lab. Ignoring his former boss, Choi kills Dr. Beck. The girl with the knives is injured but still alive, so she challenges Choi to a duel. Being a product of genetic modification, Choi easily overpowers her and beats her into unconsciousness. Ja-yoon seizes the crucial moment while Choi is distracted. She swiftly shifts her position and attacks him from behind. Choi tries to engage Ja-yoon in a desperate fight, but he proves too weak. The witch easily overpowers him and breaks his neck. The young nobleman reveals that the secure safe contains the medication Ja-yoon needs to extend their lives. There are only a few vials left, as the rest are in the main office, the location of which he will disclose only if Ja-yoon survives. He proposes another duel, but in reality, he is merely distracting her. The girl with the knives attacks Ja-yoon from behind and wounds her but doesn't cause significant damage. Ja-yoon executes the girl and telekinetically controls the young nobleman, who was trying to shoot her but failed. Using him like a puppet, Ja-yoon beats and wounds him with a knife, then delivers a final, fatal shot. After taking the 10 precious vials, she sets the laboratory on fire and escapes. Returning to the farm, Ja-yoon sees the police and realizes she can no longer return to a normal life after so many casualties. Learning that her adoptive parents are in the hospital, Ja-yoon heads there. Her mother's condition has worsened, so Ja-yoon leaves 8 vials to slow the progression of her illness. Talking to her father, she discovers he knew the truth about her and often found dead animals. Mr. Gu was aware of his adoptive daughter's cruelty and wanted to get rid of her, but his wife insisted that she was just a child who needed love and attention. After saying goodbye to her parents and friend, Ja-yoon goes into hiding. 3 months later, she finds Dr. Beck's twin sister and asks for the vials of medication. Seeing the mysterious woman with scars on her face, Ja-yoon warns that she will kill anyone who tries to touch her. For the sake of herself and her adoptive parents, Ja-yoon took desperate measures and didn't stop until she eliminated everyone who could pose a threat to them. What are you willing to do for your loved ones? Are there any limits to what's acceptable? Share your thoughts in the comments down below.